Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel, Jack O'Leary Travels. And this video in the series on how to travel as a young kid in college is going to be about my experiences, routes, tips, and some of the benefits that I've experienced and gained over just the time that I've traveled to all these different places. And I know last week's video in this series was kind of just me and a group of my friends talking about our experiences and kind of just our time as we've done that. But like I said, this video is going to be more about my experiences, my routes, tips and benefits that I have personally. And yeah, let's get into it. So for the first segment of this video, we'll talk about the best routes that you can go to and kind of like the best way to follow those routes, like where you want to go, how you're going to get there, where you're going to stay, what you're going to eat along these routes. So we'll first start talking about what I would suggest in the best way that I think we could do it in a TikTok by Matthew Burning. He talks about there's a road trip that you can do in the Midwest that's very cheap, it's very easy, it's not going to take you a lot of time. You just kind of gotta make some time for it, obviously, because it's effort to travel and it's a lot of work, but it's worth it if you put it in the work and the time. And it's some of the best times you'll have, especially if you bring friends. So where you want to start is you want to go to Pictured Routes National Park in Michigan, and you kind of can go along there, and it's on Lake Superior, so that's pretty crazy. I mean, it's a lake with waves. It's unreal, honestly. It's a great place to go. You can kind of just wade in the water. You can mess around, throw a frisbee, just things like that. Simple things to keep you entertained. It's not a lot of money. It's something like that. After that, you can head down to Marquette, Michigan to go to the Porcupine Mountains, where it's some of the largest mountains in the Midwest, actually, and it's also a good time. It's pretty eye-opening to see, I mean, mountains in a place like Michigan or up here anywhere close to the Midwest, where obviously we don't have a lot of those things. But yeah, then continuing down the coast, you're going to want to head to the Apostle Islands in Wisconsin and explore around there. There's a lot of fishing. There's a lot of things you can do with canoes and all that type of thing. It's a good time to be outdoors with your friends. You can cook on the George Foreman grill. It's another way to eat well or eat cheap and, you know, not have to worry about the expensive steaks and going out to restaurants and things like that. And then continuing down to that, you could finish the trip in Grand Marais, Minnesota, where I think that's personally my favorite. It's just a lot of outdoors. You kind of feel like you're in an untouched space by society, and you're really all alone with your friends, and it's a really another eye-opening experience to just see how crazy the world is, and just when there's no civilization that's been touched and it's straight nature. It's something that I really think everybody should experience, and especially if you can bring some friends, it's a lot of fun. So that's one route that you could take. So another way to stay cheap on the routes to the places that you want to go, for more further places away, say if you want to like travel across the country, go to a different country, kind of things like that, places where you're gonna have to fly, you can't drive a car, is just kind of looking for the cheap flights online. So in a YouTube video by Nate O'Brien, he talks about how to do exactly that, and it's making yourself put the work in to find these cheap flights on. He recommends Kayak, Expedia, Scott's Cheap Flights, but what he uses is Google Flights. And what he does is he'll kind of just browse the website daily, and if he finds a good deal, he'll just go on it. Like he found a $15 flight to Vegas just by browsing and just by being attentive to what he wants to do and his goals, and understanding that you're going to have to take time and sacrifices out to do what you want to do, but it's obviously worth it. And it's not about skimping out and taking the cheap things. because you obviously want to have a good time and you want to be the best for yourself, and especially if you're going with friends. But by doing this and taking the cheaper alternatives to things like cheap flights and maybe taking a bad seat, it's going to lead you to be able to take more trips to just places in general and other places that you want to go, and not just be spending money on hotels and food and other things like that. And granted, there are some times where you should spend money on a hotel. It's if you're going to a bad place, the government's not so stable, maybe it's just not a safe environment, so then it's good to be in a well-known hotel that can take care of you. But yeah, finding those cheap flights is crucial to traveling, especially when it's going to further places. And so in a book by Alan DeCropp called Destination Perception, Evaluation, and Choice, it's about decision making on vacations in a group of people, like a group of friends or family. But it's mostly based about a group of friends, like college kids wanting to go on a on a trip. And his biggest takeaway or a tip that I could give you is to, one, be flexible, but also it's really not about what the group is doing. It's more about participating in the group. So in his book, he talks about a study, and the conclusion was the destination and content is not relevant at all. It's when vacationing with friends, participating in the group is more important. So that's just, I mean, it's an easy trip to go on a road trip or something like that. It's just the idea of participating in a group. You don't have to go on these extravagant vacations and spend all this money and go to these faraway places. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do that every once in a while. But Alan DeCropp is a very known person in the vacation industry, and he's wrote multiple books. He's the director of the Center for Research on Consumption and Leisure, so he knows what he's talking about. And yeah, basically it's just being a part of the group and being in that experience and just having a good time with each other is the most important thing that you can really do. And yeah, and also being flexible and understanding that everybody's gonna want to do something, so understanding that there are going to be differences that you have to figure out and understand is it's not crucial, because like I said, it's just the group aspect really. But yeah, just being flexible and understanding that you don't have to do these extravagant things. So to finish this video, I want to talk about some of the benefits that I have seen in myself, and also what professionals say. Like Robert Goebbels, he wrote an article about benefits that students gain from traveling at a young age and experiencing what the world has to offer before you kind of get everything settled down and as a kid. So there were three big main takeaways that I took from the article, and one is just the compassion that you gain for other people in other countries. And it's just, when you see that there are bombings on the news or hunger or starvation or other things like that, that those are real people that have deep and interconnected lives just as much as we do. And we're kind of just realizing that everybody on earth is a real person that has a family and friends, and just understanding that at a young age, I think, plays a big part in just the compassion, and especially in empathy with business or something like that. It helps you understand that there are bigger things than you and your country that you're living in. Another one that he talks about is just obviously the idea of networking, especially in today's day and age where, I mean, networking is basically everything that you can ask for from a person, especially as an individual, and like myself with marketing. Networking is basically everything, just to be able to get your product out, get what you're trying to do, get your messages spread to a big group of people. Yeah, and just meeting a bunch of people, and also the idea of individuality, kind of being able to understand who you are as a person, and being able to step away from home, step away from where you're comfortable, and being able to really take it all in and just understand how crazy everything is, and really just becoming an individual in today's society is another big thing. And yeah, those are three big things that I have realized, and also that some professionals talk about. So yeah, that'll do it for this week's video. Tune in next week to come along on the journey that we're going to take together.